Hello, listeners. Welcome to the Dream Stream. I am your host, Yiskah Cook, here with my fellow dream worker and friend, Ellen Ronis. And I want to start this podcast by sharing some really sad news, which is that our dream brother, which I always call him on the podcast, Brendan Merritt, has passed on. And I think around the solstice, the winter solstice, he died. And it's been really harsh for the community who loved him. He had so many people that love him. And I just want to honor him with you, Ellen, because you did dream work with him also.
Yes. So shocking, really. I mean, it was very shocking when you gave me that phone call, and just may his spirit fly free. I think he really struggled, he really struggled in life. I mean, I didn't know him that well. I always really liked, I only did dream work with him a couple times, but I really appreciated listening to you, the two of you, do dream work together. I think he was very brilliant in his way, and
wise, knowledgeable.
Wise, yeah. I feel like he was like a true, what would you call it?
A wizard?
I don't know. Wizard. No, like I really saw him as a wizard. Because
a wizard. He was all of these things.
He was like a male witch, whatever you call that.
Wizard.
A warlock.
Yeah. Yes.
He had that.
Very special.
Yeah. And there was also sort of there was a darkness to him, I felt.
There was a lot of hardship in his life.
He struggled with himself, and I wasn't community, like he was looking for community always, and looking for people to help him when he was not well, and I think that was a real struggle for him.
He such a good man, and he really struggled with diabetes for much of his adult life. And I wasn't shocked when I heard that he had passed on, because I knew he was really battling with his health. He had just been diagnosed with RSV, a respiratory disease that can be fatal. And then a friend in common that used to go to his house and help him out let me know. She said, Brendan's dying. And me, Miss Pollyanna, to not say, oh, but he might, I didn't say any of that. Like, oh, he might be okay, which one might expect. I would like gloss it over. I just took it in. I was like, yeah.
Oh, I had no idea. I knew he struggled with his health, but I didn't know how severely.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, at the end of this podcast, my friend Lisa Sheshkin and I, mostly her, recite the Mourner's Kaddish, which is a Jewish prayer to honor the dead. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to tag that on to the end of our podcast.
Very nice. Very nice. Yeah.
And one thing I'm going to want to do with you, Miss Artist, is one thing I noticed. I was telling you from listening to the podcast, I'm hearing some loose ends that, like, the door was open, but we didn't pursue it. And I want to really talk about surrealistic painters and surrealist, actors, I guess. Certain movies can be with the theme of surrealism. I don't know that they're surrealistic actors. But as far as painters, he was likening it to dreams, this kind of fantastical images. And I want to know if you have any thoughts on that.
I remember listening to that podcast recently. I don't, it's funny, surrealism is not an art that I take to. That, it's not one of my favorite styles, but I really, just visually speaking. But I really do appreciate it. I mean, for some reason, the word collage just came to me. Like
Beautiful.
it's almost like this collage of different fun, dream images, and it is really like dreamy and weird. I say in quotes, to our waking life. But
I first of all, and I actually am not remembering the name of the artist, but when you say it, I'm going to be like, of course. The melting clocks.
Salvador Dali.
Dali, yes, of course.
So, he's the one that pops into my mind. Though, so I know there are others, but so I can't speak to intellectually about particular artists, but I can just say, like, yes, it does feel very dreamy.
Yes,
the imagery is very, where, like, if we're going to look at the melting clock, but even other things where like time and structure have a very different what would I say, are very different
from waking life.
Yes, it's like, just our sense of time here in waking life is very particular. It's like a construct that we sort of made up because we needed to make something up to create a kind of a structure,
Oh, absolutely.
The way that there are and
then there's the times you really notice it when, for instance, this year when Hanukkah is so much earlier than Christmas, but sometimes we celebrate them together in some years, and it's just different planetary ways to mark the time, the sun or the moon.
There's that, right? There's that, but there's also, like, I can't think of the terminology about different parallel universe kind of thing. Right, like, who knows what's going on another,
exactly.
I can't really wrap my brain around it. I'm very, scientific in a certain way, but but I do believe that that's possible. That there's
parallel universes. I think it could be, but I similarly can't wrap my mind around it.
Where there are melting clocks and weird things on ladders going into nowhere, and
but
it really does actually feel, now that you're bringing it up like that, it's very dreamy, very dream imagistic.
Escher? What's the name of
Escher?
When you said the ladders, I'm like,
yes, right. The birds turning into fish or whatever. Very cool. What were you guys saying about it on the podcast?
He was just opening up an avenue for discussion, saying, similarly with this surrealist art, and I didn't walk down that path with him. And I regretted that. I would love to have heard what he had to say about that.
Good. Well, I'm glad we could continue that a little bit.
Yes. And if you don't mind, there's 2 other things I'd like to continue. I used to do this all the time in old podcasts, 1 through 50 or something, where we did continuity, the next podcast from the one before, because of course things will continuously come to light. But then I realized people are not listening to these consecutively. People are listening to like the title that catches their attention or whatever, but it's probably not consecutively. So the only things I wanted to say was I was talking about my maternal grandfather, and I was considering him an odd man, because he was. but I remembered, after he died, I had a dream about him, and he was meditating but levitating, sitting in the lotus position, I think even full lotus, and he was meditating and levitating, and he had a wrap around his head like a Sikh. And I thought, oh, I didn't really ever see this part of my grandfather. And so I found a lot of interest and intrigue in him. And I didn't want to discount him like that because I remembered that dream. And he was always very kind. He was just a little impatient. Yeah.
Maybe sometimes when we dig a little deeper, can see what the soul is about, rather than the personality, right?
Yes.
Yeah. But when they're close to us, it's hard to see, our family, especially the closer you are, the more you see just the superficial personality, because that's what comes out on a daily basis. But yeah, well, that's beautiful that you can kind of sink in to that part of him.
Yeah, I was so glad. And then I thought, I need to speak it because
Is there any conclusion that you're coming to about it?
Well, we got to my grandfather because I was having dreams that evoked my great grandmother, my grandfather's mother, Nana Jenny. And so I was thinking, I was having all these dreams about her. Like, does she want? So then I decided, because we all know that I'm doing the work in the imaginal realm. And I decided, oh, maybe Jenny wants to be in my ancestors' place of healing, and then I thought, because one of the things I'm working on is posture and actually strength in my core. And I thought maybe she was, a dancer or cheerleader. I don't know. But then I found out not so. And I had made a joke to Brendan. He had asked about her in that session, and I made a quip like, well, I said, she's trying out. She's not auditioning, but she's trying out to be like the person who helps me with my posture. And she was auditioning. And then I tried out, and then I didn't think that's what she was there for. And then I tried out another deceased loved one who sits on my council of deceased loved ones. And she didn't quite work. So I have added Isadora Duncan to my council, and thusly to the healing space.
That's great.
If anyone can get me to be like in my body, feel my body. So, and the only good news that I have about Brendan's passing is that he's now sits on my imaginal realm council of wisdom holders. So it's really my own way. I guess that's why we believe what we do. It's our own ways to cope.
Yeah, exactly. That's beautiful.
So what about dreams, my friend?
Well, I had a really disturbing dream last night. I had been having some dreams, but this one is like, oof. Something about like, I'm at a party. I don't know where the party is. It's just indoors somewhere, a party. And it's a lot of my family is there, my siblings. And I think my mom maybe is there too. And there's this big like tidal wave that comes in just like a tsunami, and it just kind of goes into the house, over the house, into the house, and it sweeps away my brother and sister-in-law and their dog, who is deceased, but in the dream was not. I think it was Riley, the dog. And, I was like, oh my God, desperate and trying to like swim and find them. And I just had to let it go. I had to let go, like that they were gone. They were just gone. Nice. And that's the whole dream. And I woke up like just, horrified, just horrified. Just, I don't know. I do know, actually. I mean,
I think I do too.
You do? Okay. Well, I have a sense, just like,
no, only if it was, I have my own projection. I'm not saying
of course. Well, I will say a reality check.
Yeah.
one of Robert Moss's questions in the lightning dream work, I'll reality check myself here. My sister-in-law has health issues. I mean, she's got some autoimmune things. She's actually doing pretty well, but she's got some pretty serious issues. And my brother's having some financial issues. And so, I'm not going to get too into that. It's personal, but I think I'm just worried about them. I'm just really, really worried about them. And I think they'll be fine, but I can feel like, yeah. And also, it's the holiday time, and even though we're sort of over it, thankfully,
I know.
I don't particularly like the whole holiday thing, but I guess the family is more on my mind, like what family means to me and how much they mean to me. But also, I feel like they don't reach out very much to me at all, and
Yes.
at all. And when we connect, it's very nice, but it's very seldom, and it's usually me reaching out to them. And I did reach out to them, and they didn't reach back, and so I think I'm having a lot of feeling about my relationship with them.
May I ask, is this your younger brother or your older brother?
Yeah, I only have one brother, and he's younger.
Okay. No, I wasn't suggesting you have brothers on either side of you. I just was wondering which side of you he was on. He's younger.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I was just going to say, when I was kind of joking, I kind of know what it is too. I don't, of course I didn't know the details, but to me, it feels like I feel overwhelmed with my relationship with my brother and his wife. That I'm overwhelmed with emotion.
Mm-hmm.
With, that's my projection.
Yeah, I mean, definitely that the water, element, and in my dream life, and I know many others as well, it is usually about emotion.
Yeah, I know, the ocean.
I know, and I've had tsunami dreams before.
Yes.
And one that I can remember particularly is that I'm standing on a shore, and it's kind of a very beautiful beach somewhere, and this big giant thing's coming. I am not afraid. I'm just like, wow.
You're not afraid?
Awesome. No.
Okay.
And I don't, the thing just comes up over me, and I've never actually experienced so much peace in my life when this big giant wave is over me, and I feel sort of, I don't know, nestled in to it or something.
Unexpected. Yeah. That's like sort of an unexpected reaction.
It's an unexpected reaction.
Big tidal wave.
And I've had other dreams with waves and tidal, of course, tons of dreams with water, and
Sure.
So yeah, I don't know what that actually meant. I just know that my response and my feeling was like, wow, that is so cool. And I feel good. I feel like I'm going to be okay. And then I don't actually know if the wave comes over me or not. I don't remember that. Yeah, I just remember that coming up over me and just feeling like, whoa, this is
May I ask, what time in your life was that dream?
That's a great question, and I want to follow that up with something else. That was a long time ago, but I wasn't a kid. I was definitely an adult. I mean, I'm going to say, I don't know, 30s, 40s, 50s, maybe, wasn't like really recent. It was definitely quite some number of years ago. Okay. And the follow-up to that is that I have a very special little person in my life, my friend Tara's daughter, Maya, who is now, my God, almost 9 years old.
She's not as little a person as she used to be.
She's not a little, I saw her being born, and now she's almost 9. But anyway, and she recently, we were on the phone together, and she just randomly started sharing dreams. I didn't ask her. I don't even know if she knows that I'm a person who explores dreams. So she told me about this dream where she's on the beach and there's this big giant wave. She might have even called it a tsunami. She's very, very smart. This girl, frightening. Doesn't surprise me. Her parents are both on the genius level.
Yes. God.
So it kind of makes sense that she would be too. But she uses very sophisticated words and things. Anyway, and she said, my dad was on the beach and I think she said he was fixing the toaster or something. He was fixing something very practical, like in the kitchen, but he was on the beach.
Okay.
But he was like distracted by that.
Okay.
And she sees this wave, and I think she said the wave hits, but she doesn't get hurt.
Okay.
And I think I was just like, wow, that's interesting. Like, I've had that dream too.
I think I might have had that dream.
It's one of the, I guess it's one of those theme dreams, like people have,
yes,
like flying.
Well, and it's the time of climate change. So in this time of climate change, maybe we're all dreaming of disasters or, possible. We see these things happening around us.
But I wonder if, I mean, that is certainly
everything.
A possibility, right? Like there's just disasters absolutely everywhere, and climate is creating things like tsunamis and stuff like that. But I kind of wonder if we're going to look at it in terms of what we know, what we sort of, one of the things that we kind of know about the dream world and the symbology, although symbology is whatever you make of it.
Right.
Excuse me. But yeah, water can mean the mother, nurturing, emotion, right? Like, so if that is emotion, and it's like this big giant thing of emotion, or you're something, it would be fun to explore it on that level, I think, that I don't get hurt or I don't get, but in this dream that I recently had, people did get, people did. Away. Yeah. So, I don't know. And I woke up feeling very emotional. So very, God,
okay, again, there's the emotions.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm saying. I'm just kind of riffing, I guess, on it all.
Yeah, no, it's very powerful imagery.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious now that we're talking about climate change, have you also dreamed about any other natural disaster, like a landslide or a hurricane or tornado?
Not really. Not that I can really remember.
Right?
Yeah, not really.
I'm not remembering natural disaster dreams either.
No,
although I have to say, around 9/11, I did have a dream that Muslim pilots like did something. It wasn't with the buildings, but there was some bad behavior that was being done politically, and so that was as close as I came. Some people came much closer in dreaming the scenario, than I, but it was a similar theme. You know what I think it was? Do you remember the time? I think it's when, I'm not sure if it's Russia that was fighting with Chechnya, and there was a beautiful child that looked like the horrors of war were on his face. He was dirty, and that image really stuck with me. That was right around the time of 9/11 also, I believe.
Yeah, I seem to remember around that time actually having some kind of war dreams, like scenarios like that, but not natural disasters. But that makes sense, right? I mean, that was just like, whoa. That was
right. But yeah, and it's sort of surprising to me that I haven't had any wildfire dreams or
Nope. Well, sometimes it's been said in the dream world, to me anyway, that if something is happening on the waking level of life, something is, whether it's you're processing something in your life and you're really doing the emotional and psychological and psychic work around it, that you often won't dream about it because you're actually, the light is being shown on it already. You're already
I agree with that.
working it. And it's when there's something that's just under the surface. That's why I'm wondering about this dream with my sibling, my brother and sister-in-law, and who I love dearly, both of them, and the dog. The dog is kind of interesting. The dog's already passed. So and I'm not sure if it was that dog, but just, yeah, I'm curious to know if you have any more hits on that.
Yeah, I feel in one way, if it's my dream, the dog is making it less scary, because if the dog is already predeceased and then the dog is there, it makes it, in my projection, makes it less scary, because it's almost like I don't believe that death is an end, and I think that there's a lot more journeying that goes on beyond the physical body, and I just feel like the dog being there is reminding me that. So scared as this imagery might be for me, I feel assuaged, comforted.
Yeah, that's interesting. Or the dog, if the dog is on the other side, right, already, yeah. It's almost like pulling them, come, it's okay, come. It didn't feel like that, to be honest, but okay. I like that as a thought, as an option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the one other way I think of deep waters is the unconscious mind. So if I'm not thinking of it as emotional, but thinking I'm being overcome by what's not conscious.
Oh, I like that. That actually make just like a chills.
Okay.
Yeah, because I sort of forgot that also it's unconscious, like kind of go to the emotional. Right.
Yes. Okay. And was there any sense of where the tsunami happened? What ocean, what beach?
No, we were like in a house or in an apartment or something. So it was weirdly random, that this would happen. It didn't feel like we were at a beach or an ocean.
Did it feel like being in Thailand or like being in California?
I had no idea. Okay. I mean, it felt normal, like ordinary. So it could have been Long Island where I grew up, or like anywhere. It could have really been anywhere.
Sure.
Yeah. I felt like an apartment somehow, not a house. Yeah, I do have the sense that there's something under the surface with me, because I think it's partly what's interrupting my sleep and creating a lot of tension in my physical body. That I'm like, what is this? Is it a fear? There's a kind of an anxiety and a fear, and of course, the world is what it is, and would make sense, but it isn't a feeling that I've been having overall. I mean, I have moments of anxiety and moments of depression and moments of what the, what. But this is a little different. It's like, okay, there's something I'm needing to look at, and I don't know exactly what it is. I don't know what it is. And an interesting thing too, it's not so much about the dream world, but just the psyche, is that we look to make meaning of things. Like we look to, what is the meaning of my emotion? Like, what am I feeling? Why am I feeling like I think I'm trying to put some kind of an intellectual meaning to something that may not have a meaning. It just may be like, this is what I'm feeling because it's in the ether. It's everywhere.
Yes.
The anxiety, fear, the discomfort,
right.
The curiosity of what's going to happen, the anticipation of who knows what. I actually feel excited in a weird kind, not a weird, but I feel excited about the future. I feel like there's always a cause and effect. Like this is going to change. We don't know when, we don't know how, but everything that's happening, because it's just the way it's physics.
Yes.
There's an ice age and then it melts. And then there's not an ice age. I mean, it takes a million years, but you see the point. It's like, this is going to change. Something is going to happen. And hopefully it will be in our lifetime. We get to experience something wonderful from
I don't know if I share that hope.
You don't share that hope?
I don't think I do. But if it's something wonderful.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That when
has it ever been wonderful? Huge climate changes.
Well, and I don't necessarily mean like la-di-da wonderful. I just mean like maybe we get to see a different side of humanity. Maybe we get
wonderful
people
that way.
pull together to, like, these young people oh God, I sound like a freaking old Altacaca. For those who don't know what that means, it's like old fart in Yiddish. Those young people. But seriously, the people who are the young, they're, you know, in their 20s or whatever, 30s even, but even the younger, they're so impassioned. They're so they're so angry, and they should be. They have every right to be, and they're really just kind of, they're
but
out
they
there.
give me hope.
They give me hope, and I really do.
Give me hope.
Because this is what happens. It's something, there's always going to be a development, something scientific, something technological, something spiritual. It's always going to be like that. So I know I'm sounding a little Pollyanna right now, and I don't.
Yes, you are.
I'm so not Pollyanna, but I have to have the hope. Otherwise, might as well just.
They give me hope. So much hope.
Yeah, there has to be, and I think if we look at it on a very, very global level, like really pull, you know, almost like in a dream where you're leaving your body, which I don't have.
Yeah, right. Yeah, farther view.
Lift up, and just see the whole thing of it. See the whole grand picture, and it's pretty sucky right now, and it's pretty scary, but it's gonna change. We may not see it.
That's definitely true. I have to say, what helped me with all this craziness, this might sound really silly, but I still have my pussy hat from back in the days when all the women banded together and put on our pussy hats. And a friend of mine came over the other day and she was wearing hers. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I so need to be wearing mine right now. Meaning not anything about Democrat against anybody, you know, not in any way meaning that, not in any way meaning against the former president, but just being like, when life is so crazy, we all need to band together. And that's what the hat was symbolizing for me. It's like the collective of you know, getting things done for ourselves, our countries, our globe.
Exactly. Like really banding together. And I do, it is that way right now. People are doing that. That it doesn't mean that things are good.
Right. That's
or
true.
That we can even see improvement, because I don't think we do yet.
The improvement. No.
Yeah. But I think, and it's kind of even deeper than that too. It's deeper than just, you know, it's almost like the evolutionary consciousness that I think is also happening. And that's a kind of avenue of thought that is a little bit less solid in my own being, but I like it.
You want to say more about that? An avenue of consciousness. That's beautiful. What does it mean?
Yes. What does it mean? Right. What the hell? Yeah. Let's see if I can find more words for that. Waking up on a really deep spiritual level. And I know what that means? Not really, not intellectually. But it's not an intellectual concept. I think it's just something to feel into, and like that expansion of consciousness, like that how we are, how we have been, even spiritually, is this one way, or, you know, there's many avenues for all of that, but just, you know, generally speaking, you know, and an expansion of consciousness. It's like something that we don't even know, like that we could be being asked on a spiritual level and a cosmological level to open ourselves up to something completely different on that level, on that spiritual level, on that psychic level.
Well, that gives me so much hope, Ellen.
Something that we haven't thought of yet. And it's been said in the spiritual communities, you know, that I sort of tap into, you know, on social and all that now and again, that is what's happening, you know.
Okay, love that.
Again, like you and I both are pretty, you know, Jewish intelligentsia in a certain way, I think, right? Where we just kind of even though we're sort of in the, the dreamy world here, but it's hard for me to actually really, really get what that means, but
Right.
I really, really want to.
Yes.
I think
yes.
that's a good step.
Yes.
To imagine something.
Well, I love it. I mean, I haven't really even thought about, and of course I believe something when a dark time needs then a time of light. I believe in yin yang.
That's exactly what I'm saying,
principles.
is that I think that's exactly what I'm saying, right? Like there was an ice age and now there's not an ice. Like there's always,
okay.
right?
Yes.
But there's always going to be something the opposite, and it takes many long time, many years to actually change, to actually see like, oh, this is different. But it is like that. It's physics. It's just the way of nature. There's winter and then there's summer. There's darker, then there's light. There's
what are you, a climate denier? I'm just kidding.
What?
I said, are you a climate denier? No, I mean, because then there's people that don't think humans are affecting any of this.
Oh,
it's just
nothing to
ice
do
age
with that.
and then.
No, I'm not
totally
saying,
joking.
God, please I hope nobody thinks that.
I know.
My point is just that, yeah, we are definitely fucking it up and we need to do something, and maybe it's too late, maybe it's not, but human beings are definitely the problem.
Yes.
And my point is not that at all. It's the much bigger picture of things.
Yes.
Things happen. I mean, we don't, anyway.
I was only joking because obviously I can see humans are doing something as well as the earth has her cycles.
And I'm not, that's not, and again, that isn't what I mean. Yes, the earth has cycles. It's more of it's like a physics or an energetic concept, or a nature concept whatever the, and maybe this is incorrect, but whatever the cause, there's always going to be an effect one way or the other. So whatever we're messing it up, and there's a consequence. And then once we're down in that consequence of our messing shit up, there's going to be something that turns around to maybe.
What's so frustrating for me is that, in the late 80s and early 90s, I worked for Greenpeace, and we had a styrofoam free office. You couldn't bring your cup of coffee in a styrofoam cup. It's just we had that. I was in the peace movement. We went to the Nevada test site and processed nuclear weapons testing, and I think that we saw even then, when I guess we were more on the cutting edge, so to speak, just because then it became, a very different global consciousness about what we have to do for our planet. And so that our climate can reflect, I don't know, not being too affected by CO2 we're burning or anything. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's it's like we were ignorant. I mean, I don't think, yes, maybe some people willfully do fucked up things. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on the airwaves, but in the world, to the environment or whatever, or decide to be ignorant, they just are not listening. But ignorance can be corrected.
Yeah.
and the hope is that the more information people have about things, the more they can change it. But again, who knows? Yeah, it's pretty messed up, and maybe thank
goodness. I mean, I am like lamenting that the past, I don't know how many decades since the 90s, since then, and I can't believe only now are we realizing this. But on the other hand, it's like, thank God we're realizing this now, because in another 12 years, we could have used the previous 12 years for saving our planet. So
we wasted all that time not knowing, but
and so, but now we know, and now we have to act on it.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may be too late. We don't know, but
We don't know.
we just don't know. And I think that's the unconscious, maybe like the tsunami dream that I had, and getting washed, getting hit with it actually this time,
Yes.
getting hit with it, I don't know, maybe it's just all of that. It's just all of that confusion and all of that not knowing and hoping, I have to have hope. But
I'd love to hear you say all this because you're like a grounded person who, in my perception of you. So it's nice to hear your optimism.
Yeah, I don't know if I mean, sometimes I wonder I do have a little, it's just one of those things I feel like I have to have, otherwise I really would just not wake up in the morning. I just, because it just would be, I mean, I think that is what keeps human beings going.
I think so.
In times like this. It's just, we have to have some little tiny glimmer that something is going to be different one day.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, this is a lot of words, and what do I really feel? Yeah, I feel like anxious, and I feel so tired, and I feel like everyone else, I think, this is.
The dream feels to me like a collective consciousness dream. Like we're all experiencing this, wherever we live, everybody's living in a place where there's too much rain and so much flooding, or all these other things we've talked about. That this is happening globally. So this is, in a way, our collective experience of it. I think when Thailand had the tsunami, in Indonesia, I think that many of us saw images of it, on the TV or on the computer, and kind of bled its way into our global consciousness. As I said.
Yeah. And it's interesting. I didn't see any images of it, but I just didn't.
Oh,
really?
I
don't have a TV and I don't watch news.
Yes.
It's hard. I get in the car and I listen to the radio, I listen to news radio and things like that, BBC and whatever. But I don't watch anything. And I specifically don't, because I think that I am so super, super hypersensitive. And I think that's why I try to stay, like, it's not like I'm trying to stay Pollyanna or positive, but I have to find that in me. Otherwise I could go really dark, I think. So I don't watch those things because those images really, I know what exists. It's not like I'm ignorant or I'm just like, I'm not listening,
Yes.
But
I'd
rather pay attention to the things that I can actually control, or not control, but well, maybe control, things that I can actually do, for myself, for the people who are immediately around me.
Yes.
So anyway, I don't know what this dream meant, but it didn't feel good. I will say that. It didn't feel good. And maybe it's just that part of me that's like, stop being so Pollyanna and feel what's really going on.
You're courageous enough. You're brave enough.
I'm brave enough. I can go there. Yeah.
As long as we're in this kind of sadness, if I may, my dad's first yard site is coming up on January 4th. What is today? The 3rd? Tomorrow. So I just feel kind of wrecked,
Yeah.
I feel kind of run over.
Yeah.
So let's say when we listen to the Mourner's Kaddish at the end of this podcast, we can also hold our global hurts, our woes, also in our hearts, because we've lost so much, so much. These disasters.
I just want to say one thing that I feel like I'm getting about the dream is that I think that in some ways I feel brave. Like I feel like I'm what's the word, like mutable. Like I can go with the flow, just, but I worry so much about those that I love, my siblings, that they won't be able to, even though, why would I think that? They will. But so I think that was part of it too, is that I worry about people that I love.
I think so.
Yeah, as resilient as I think I am.
Yes. That rings true. Of course, we're more worried about the others that we can't, rescue, and
right.
we have to.
And I can't rescue them. That's an interesting thing. I couldn't rescue them. Whatever, that's their journey. That was their journey. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing.
Yeah, thank you.
Quite a rich imagery in your dream. Really powerful.
Thank you. And blessings to the spirit of your father.
Well, beautiful. So now at the end of this podcast is going to be the mourner's Kaddish.
Yeah, kind of
beautiful, beautiful. I can just say it along with the computer.
Yeah, I would love to hear that right now. It would be nice.
Well, then I will edit. And please be, kind. I'm really not an editor. Anyone who watches our YouTube videos on the Dream Stream knows that I have a learner's curve. I haven't learned it yet, but I'm still plugging. I'll get it one of these days.
Oh, good.
It's great to talk with you, Ellen.
Great to talk with you too.
Okay.
May Brendan's soul fly free, and may he be at peace.
Amen. So, listeners, thank you for joining us and sharing our hurt with you. We appreciate it, helping us hold the weight of it all. And I wish for everyone sweet dreams. Holamod Metukin. Bye. Hello, welcome to Dream Stream. We come with some sad news that our brother and fellow dream worker has passed on, and Brendan Merritt, and we want to say the mourner's Kaddish for him. And this is our dear friend Felisa.
Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah b'yama divrach yirutei b'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon u'vyomechon u'v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael dechol beit yoshvei tevel bagala uvizman kariv V'yimeru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba Mevorach, V'olam ulal me'almaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabat, v'yitbar, v'yitromam, v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar, v'yitale, v'yitalal, Shemei dekudasha, v'hu leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata dam, yihiran v'yalma, v'yimeru, Amen. Yehi shlama b'mem R'orav min Shemaya. V'chayom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yal kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru Amen. Oseh shalom b'mrumam V'yaseh shalom aleinu V'yakol Yisrael, V'yakol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru,
Amen.
Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yakol Yisrael, Yahaseh Shalom, Yahaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, V'yakol Yisrael, V'yakol Yoshvei Tevel, V'imru,
Amen. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Felisa. So more to come about this sad loss.